My name is Raymond Carter. I am 67 years old. 2 nights ago, my phone rang at 10:47 while I sat alone on my porch, and all I heard on the other end was my daughter whispering, "Dad, I left him." Within 30 minutes, I was standing in a gas station parking lot facing down the man who had been pounding on a locked bathroom door, and by the following morning, someone had left a broken silver necklace on my own front porch steps as a warning. What neither of them knew was that I had spent 31 years as a United States Marshal, and patience had belonged to me a very long time before it ever belonged to him. Before I tell you what happened next, please hit like and subscribe. Drop your city and local time below. I love knowing where you are listening from. Now let me take you back 6 years, to a porch light my late wife asked me never to turn off. My wife Margaret died 6 years ago, and the porch light has stayed on every single night since, exactly the way she asked. "Leave it burning," she used to say. "You never know who might need to find their way home." I never remarried. I poured everything into that porch, my daughter Emily, and an old Toyota Tacoma with nearly 200,000 miles on it, that Margaret used to tease me about driving until the wheels fell off. Emily grew into a woman who teaches children how to recognize unhealthy relationships, ironic given what was happening in her own. She met Trevor Malloy, polished, practiced, a smile rehearsed in front of a mirror. I never liked the way he looked at her, but I kept that mostly to myself, the way a father learns which battles are worth naming out loud. For 31 years, I worked as a U.S. Marshal, mostly paperwork, warrants, interviews, knowing when not to move, though I never told Emily the full extent of it at our dinner table. Margaret knew everything Emily only ever knew. I worked courthouse security. That quiet history was about to matter more than either of us expected. That rainy Thursday night, Emily called from a locked gas station bathroom, Trevor pounding on the door outside, his voice alternating between charm and menace. I drove 27 minutes through the rain and found him standing outside with his hands in his jacket pockets. The kind of calm that told me exactly what I was dealing with. He told me it was just a misunderstanding. I told him, not anymore. When Emily finally came out and flinched at the sound of her own name in his mouth, that small movement told me more than 1,000 words could have. I drove her home past our porch light still glowing through the rain, and within minutes her phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "You just signed your family's death warrant." The next morning I sat with a legal pad, writing down every detail, while old habits refused to retire just because I had Emily told me everything, piece by piece, how it never starts with a locked bathroom door, it starts with flowers and soft voices, and just enough kindness that cruelty feels like weather by the time it arrives. Then her phone buzzed again, a photograph of her school parking lot taken from across the street. Pretty easy place to find. By 9 that morning, I had called Deputy Auron Pike, a man I had known 20 years, and by lunchtime my brother Cal and our neighbor Denise, a retired 911 dispatcher, had turned my yard into a quiet operation of security cameras and careful angles. The following morning, a broken silver necklace, the one I had given Emily at her college graduation, sat waiting near my top porch step. Denise pulled the footage at 2:13 in the morning. A dark sedan rolled past with its headlights off, a figure walking across the yard like he had studied the place first, standing at my door for nearly 10 seconds in the glow of that porch light before leaving without a word. "That is not a man trying to get his girlfriend back," my brother said. "That's a man building pressure." That afternoon, Public Records Search turned up a dismissed protective order petition from 4 years earlier. A woman named Marisa Cole in Sevierville, Trevor's old address 2 streets from hers during the same year. I reached out carefully, respectfully, and by evening she had agreed to meet, the first sign that Trevor's pattern reached far further back than any of us had realized. Meeting with Marisa the following day confirmed what the timeline had already suggested. A pattern of control and escalation that predated Emily entirely. Documented enough to matter to a prosecutor if it ever came to that, Deputy Pike began building a formal case file alongside everything Emily and I had already gathered. The texts, the photograph, the footage, the necklace. The truth does, that evening on the porch, eating sandwiches with Cal and Denise, Emily almost laughed for the first time in days, and I let myself feel, quietly, how close we had come to a very different ending. I did not tell her everything I was thinking that night. Some things a father carries so his child does not have to carry them too. Just before midnight, I confirmed with Aaron that a formal restraining order petition would be filed first thing, alongside a referral to the district attorney's office given Marissa's prior complaint, and the trespassing footage from my own property. 12:03 in the morning. I am 67 years old. I am, for the first time in 3 days, no longer simply reacting to whatever Trevor decides to do next. Across town, Trevor was almost certainly still confident that fear alone would eventually bring Emily back, with no idea that a retired U.S. Marshal had already spent 3 decades learning exactly how men like him operate and had quietly built a case against him before he ever realized he was the one being watched. The restraining order was granted within days, backed by the security footage of Trevor trespassing on my property and the pattern established through Marissa's earlier complaint. Deputy Pike's investigation expanded further once 2 more women came forward after the case became part of the local court record, each with a strikingly similar story. Trevor was arrested within the month on charges connected to the trespassing and harassment. The broken necklace and photograph entered as evidence alongside months of documented messages. He looked at Emily when their paths crossed briefly at the courthouse, the way he always had, expecting the frightened woman in that gas station bathroom. She was not that woman anymore. She had not been since the morning her father picked up a broken silver chain from his own porch steps and understood exactly what kind of fight he was now in. Margaret used to tell me to leave that porch light burning because you never know who might need to find their way home. I always thought she meant it simply, kindly, about neighbors and strangers passing through. I understand now she meant something larger, that home should always be the place a frightened person can run toward without hesitation. Trevor Malloy is currently facing formal charges, with Marissa Cole and another woman's testimony strengthening the case considerably. Deputy Pike continues handling the investigation as more information surfaces. As for Emily, she has moved back into my guest room for now, healing slowly, teaching the same lessons to her students with a clarity she did not fully have herself until recently. I think of Margaret every night. I flip that porch light switch and I think, the people who love you best will always come, no matter what hour the phone rings. If you've ever had to protect someone you love from a threat that built itself quietly over time, I want to hear your story. Tell me in the comments. And if this one moved you, subscribe to Dad's Revenge Tales. There is more where this came from.